I love that music. My daughter Savannah creates my intro videos and my graphics and stuff for social media, and I get to sit here and listen to that song right before I come on camera, so it kind of puts me in a happy mood, right? Good morning. How are you? I uh, I hope this Saturday finds you doing well. We've had, I don't know about you guys, we've had like so much going on this week. And just in general in the world, so much going on this week that trying to live our lives around all of that sometimes can be super stressful. I have luckily have been engrossed in a fantasy fiction book manuscript for a client. So, and then there's always Milo who's going to jump up here and say, good morning. Come on. There he goes. Come on. Because no show is a show without Milo, right? How you doing, buddy? So Milo and I have been working together this week, working on this fantasy fiction book. So it's been a nice escape to go into a world that's been created by an author and just feel all those feelings and experience what's going on in the characters' lives, um, to get away from everything that's going on in our world, right? Mm. So, guys, this morning's mug is my happy day mug. We're going to be talking about feelings and emotions and opinions because with everything that's going on in our world right now, people have a lot of opinions and they're saying a lot of things and they're trying to say things and cut through the crap and make a difference because there's so many others who are out there saying things flying by the seat of their pants, saying whatever comes to their mind, creating divisions and creating hostility against each other. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about when you are writing, whether it's in social media posts, whether it's in an opinion, maybe you're reading, responding to an article that you've read. Maybe you are writing an article as an op-ed piece. Maybe you're wanting to write about these kinds of scenes in stories that you're trying to create right now, or you're just trying to get through life and not, not get in trouble for posting stuff on social media, because that's a place where a lot of emotions and feelings and opinions are shared, and we just don't quite know which ones are the real deal, right? So, hey out there to everybody who is watching live. Good morning, Savannah. Good to see you, as always, my dear. Thank you for the cool little intro videos. Everything she creates, she works hard for me during the week, and so she has to create these for my little vlogcast here that I have, this live stream show. Well, guys, we're talking about feelings, so I wanted to salute and celebrate this morning with my happy mug. My happy day mug came from my friend Ronnie Rock, who I love dearly. Yep. Isn't this cute? Little birdie. And it says happy day, right? Even on a tough day, when I see this mug and I get a cup of coffee, I'm choosing to have a happy day, to start my day happy. Listen, after going through cancer treatment, when I wake up in the morning, I am happy. I'm just going to say, I am happy that I'm waking up, not in a hospital. I'm in my home, that I have my hair back. Not quite, what it was. It's getting there. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with it. Like it's got a weird growth pattern now. And the texture is different. Anyway, it's just all different. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with this. But I have hair. I have hair. I am thankful that I completed my treatment. Thankful I'm not having to go to the hospital every single week for something, a scan, an infusion, lab work, doctor's appointments. Makes me happy. Makes me happy and makes me think about all of the things that I'm thankful for. And usually when I do that in the morning, kind of sets my mind in the right direction because I know I'm about to hit an onslaught of stuff, most of it which will annoy me, and I have to figure my way out of that. And I want to do it as less emotional as possible. So I am emotional. I am emotional for this weekend because I am happy. It's the weekend. I'm looking forward to pool time. I've been working hard all week. And I'm trying to get consistent about my physical activity and my exercise. So that's been something I've been working on this summer. What are some things you've been working on this summer? Have you been working on anything? Maybe you even had a garden, or maybe you started cleaning out closets and rearranging things in your house, or maybe you've taken on additional work with clients. Maybe you've started a new job. Maybe you quit a job and you just wanted to take a freaking break over the summer. You know what? You're allowed that, because that helps you find your happy place, right? It's kind of centered and grounded. Well, for those of you who have never caught this broadcast live, and here I am, 7 minutes into the broadcast, and I haven't said hello. So good morning. If this is your first time to catch me live, and you're still watching, because you want to know who this crazy woman is who keeps rambling on a Saturday morning, waving her coffee cup in the air, it's nice to see you. My name is Ronée. By trade, I am an editor. I help authors who are putting out their books for the first time. I help them walk through the self-publishing process. I help writers who are just trying to write a little clearer. They have proposals they want to send, educational curriculum that needs updating, anything like that. That's kind of what I do for my job. And so I help writers or companies or businesses that are trying to communicate their messages clearer to an audience. But mostly my favorite thing to do is work on books. So like I said, I'm working on one right now, fantasy fiction genre. And so there's certain rules that apply with editing fiction that you wouldn't use in nonfiction, because it's a different style of writing. So there are things you can do and you're allowed to do in the fiction world, especially in the fantasy fiction world, where anything is possible. So these kinds of stories are great to work on because they help you whisk you away to a make-believe world, and the creativity that an author needs to have in order to be able to write scenarios and have a vivid imagination to create characters and scenes and places and worlds even, for a great story. So excited about great stories. And one thing that's made me super happy this week is that 2 different movies came out this week. They opened yesterday. Both of them opened yesterday. So I've got a busy weekend or week ahead. I'd like to see these movies before we go on our big family trip. And so, but they're adapted from books. They're adapted, and I love, because again, there are great stories found in books. And if you want to be a good writer, one of the things you must do is you need to read all kinds of different things, and not just on the internet. I'm talking about truly deep diving into a piece of well-written literature to stimulate your creativity and to give you an example of what strong writing can be. So I'm super excited because, let me see here. Now, one of them, you're probably familiar with. You've seen all of the movie trailers coming up. Perhaps maybe you read the book. I read the book back in 2018 as part of a book club. And it was a fascinating story. Oh, it was so good. And everybody that was in the book club absolutely raved about it. Here, I'm going to pull this up on screen. Let me get this on the screen so you can see it. But you're familiar with it. You've been seeing the movie trailers recently. Get this up here. Come on. Here we go. I'm going to get this down faster, guys. I promise. Where the Crawdads Sing. I read this book as part of Reese Witherspoon's book club back in 2018. And let me just tell you, this book blew up. I mean, I think it's now in the category of being in the top 20 books of all time as far as how many units. Over 12 million copies of this book was sold. Fascinating story. Center character is a girl named Kaya. There are 2 actual storylines that sort of weave together. One is about the story of this girl named Kaya, and she lives in the marsh. She was abandoned there. Her family's lived there, and slowly, one by one, all of her family members left. She was the youngest child. She was left alone in this marsh. So it's a story about self-reliance, survival, how she manages to come into town and meet the people. But when they see her, they call her the Marsh Girl. There is also a murder investigation that is woven around this. It's a story of a young man who Kaya meets and her interactions and what happened. And there's a love triangle. And there's anyway, it's a fascinating, it's just such a well-written story. Millions of people. And so now the Reese Witherspoon's production company has taken this because that's kind of the vein that Reese is in right now. Not only is she an accomplished actress, but she has created a production company where she is adapting these great stories with, and her book club started out where a lot of her central, protagonist figures in her books that she picked were all women. They were all women, strong women, female characters. And so she adapted Little Fires Everywhere, if you remember reading that and seeing the television series, Where the Crawdads Sing was well received enough to be adapted into a movie, in a film. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. If you've already seen it, if you went and saw it yesterday, please no spoilers, because I want to see how well the adaptation is compared to the book. There's no way that you can take an actual book and do it page by page, line by line. It just costs too much money. It's a different format of learning, of getting a story, of consuming a story, if you will. And so with the written word, you can evoke feelings and responses that are different from when you watch a movie, right? Because in a movie, we've got only a couple of hours. Got a couple of hours. Imagine it takes you more than 2 hours to read the entire book, unless you're just a speed reading demon, in which I may have to rebuke you for that. But truly, you can't consume the entire book in less than 2 hours. So how do you take a story of several hours worth of reading and condense it and adapt it to fit for a movie screen format? So it's just fascinating. I love it. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see it. What a great story. And have you ever read a story where you thought, man, this would make a great television series or a great movie, right? You can already picture it. So just imagine the people whose job it is to take the words of the author and then write a script or a screenplay that actors can then act out for a different outlet, if you will, of a story, right? So that's why the movies and the books are always different. So I try to go into these movies objectively. If I know the story, well, then I know the main story arc. Now I'm curious to see how that's going to be done in movie form, right? So anyway, Where the Crawdads Sing, get it. If you haven't read it yet, awesome book to read. I cannot recommend it enough. It will always be one of the books that if anybody asks, hey, I need something to read, and they haven't read this yet, definitely a must see. So you want to see Where the Crawdads Sing. And if you get it in movie form, that's fine too, because then you can watch the movie and then read the book and see which one you like better. The book is going to have more information, more details, more deeper character development, I think, than what can be done in a movie because you're limited on time. Another great book that has been adapted to the screen, and this one, the book was originally written in 1958, and it was called Mrs. Iris Goes to Paris, because there's some, denoting the class structure of the woman who's the central character, Mrs. Iris from London. She's a very simple charwoman, okay? Back in a time in England when your position was to be cleaning your job within the household staff was to be cleaning the chimneys and the fireplace and keeping those running during the day and taking care of that and basically doing, household duties for a family. Well, she sees a dress as she's helping, the people who are, and the lady of the house, as she's helping with her clothes, she sees this Christian Dior gown and she absolutely falls in love with it. Now, ladies who are watching this either live or via replay, you know that feeling when you walk into a store or you're shopping and you find something that you know is going to look good on you, that is so you, and you've got to have it. So that's the story about Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. So she falls in love with a Christian Dior gown. So she scrimps and she saves to be able to take a trip to Paris to go to where the design houses are. And the story goes on from there. It was adapted into a movie. You can find it on DVD. It was back in 1992, starring Angela Lansbury in the leading role of Mrs. Harris. But now Leslie Manville is in the starring role. And so I'm really excited to see this one, to see, because Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, there's also a story, Mrs. Harris Goes to New York. It's a story series written by Paul Gallico about the adventures of this little, English charwoman and just places she gets to go and things she gets to do because of the people she works for, the connections that she has through her job allows her to levels of the world she thought she would never see. So it's a great story. I'm excited to see the movie again and see the adaptation from the book. But those are two things that really made me happy this week, were those two stories getting adapted to movies. So it'll be interesting to see how they are. And I would love to know if you end up going to see it. Let me know what you thought of it, especially where the crawdads sing. If you've read the book, go see the movie, and then I would love to hear what you thought about that. We may have to talk about that next week, okay? So that gives you time to go see the movie. So let's talk about writing about our emotions and our feelings and our opinions. Because I don't know about you, if you get on social media for any length of time, I pray that you have friends that send you funny things like I do, memes, video clips. One that I can recommend on Instagram, if you ever are having a tough day and you want something to see something that is just absolutely amazing and will make you smile every time you see it, look up Chowder the Bulldog on Instagram. Chowder the Bulldog. I think it's Chowder the Bulldog 1, but if you just look up Chowder the Bulldog on Instagram, this is a bulldog, the chunky little bulldog, Chowder. He loves to skateboard. Okay, you guys, can I just tell you, when I watch these videos, have you ever laugh cried? You know, the emoji of laugh crying? It's like the combination of so much cuteness and, oh my God, it's funny. This dog, he leans when he goes on his skateboard, he leans and turns. There's one I'll have to share of him at 2018 where he jumped on the front of them with his back legs. He was pushing the skateboard and he figured out it would move. Now he knows he'll knock his skateboard down, run, jump on it, and skateboard down the street. Oh my Lord. Just thinking about the videos is so cute. Chowder the Bulldog. Okay. But there are other times on social media where, and you know what I'm talking about. We literally have to tune it out. Otherwise, our feed will start populating with this negative content and people who are sharing their opinions about things, right? We went through this during the pandemic. It doesn't matter what we go through in our world. We have all these people on the internet, some of them who are fake, bot generated people from overseas. We can't even trust the platforms that we try to use, right? Don't you wish we could go back to the early days of like Facebook and Instagram when we were just live streaming and keeping connected? And now TikTok is, what a platform. I still get on there and I love being an observer because look at the content creation that is going out there on TikTok. There are things you can learn on TikTok, recipes. Now it's kind of fun. I go to YouTube or to TikTok to see if somebody has posted something answering a question that I have, right? And so there are times when we need to talk about strong feelings. There are times when we need to talk about things like grief, like losing a loved one. I don't know about you, but you guys, earlier in the week, and I made the mistake of clicking on an early video on Twitter about this situation here in Uvalde, Texas, with the shooting, which now they've release the footage of the gunman going in, and you can see him walk the halls and then start in the classroom on the left. See, there are things that I can't even unsee, but I happened to click on the video that had the audio portion as well. So I couldn't, there was no way I was going to watch 77 minutes of this footage. The first 6 to 7 minutes is all I needed to see. Once I heard the screaming, right? And so people are putting out their very strong feelings about how they feel about this situation. You can imagine the parents. I mean, I don't even want to imagine the parents' grief, right? The battle that is going on down in Uvalde, Texas now, the very uh, almost, explosive emotions that are on the surface of all the people down in Uvalde, Texas right now for what's going on, the story, and everybody has a strong feeling about that. There are people who have strong feelings about the gun control issue. There are people who have strong feeling against the police officers and the response. There are people who are fighting for gun rights. So we've got lots of sides to this story, and I for one, with the police, good heavens, they were not equipped on the same level to face an 18-year-old kid who had hold of an AR-15 with no training. They're afraid of their lives because they know what that weapon does. So they are outgunned. What right? They were all fearful of their life. There's no way to say what we would do in that situation, right? And also that, oops, we go see Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Sorry about that. Oops, my hand hit my mouse here, and it just brought that picture back up. We go to the movies. But you understand what I'm saying, right? We have situations like that are presenting themselves where people have strong feelings and emotions about that situation. Unfortunately, on most of the posts and articles that you see, you go out on social media, not only do you have to deal with the article, but you have to deal with all the comments from people, especially on social media. So how do we write about our emotions, or especially our opinions on things that matter to us, right? There are things that matter to us. And so how do we share those things? Use our words in a way to not only affect truth and speak truth into a situation, but also have a consideration and respect for the person who's receiving it. We're supposed to use our words with efficiency, but great care, if you know what I mean, right? So, first of all, we have to know our audience. Who are we talking to? If we're talking to these people who just want to bitch for the sake of bitching, not much you can do with that other than to say, have a nice day and move on. You're going to go in circles with those kinds of people, and you don't want to get caught up in those kinds of conversations on social media, especially when there are algorithms going, hey, check it out. They clicked on a link about this. They enjoy that. A lot of times too, when I have to do research for a book that I'm working on or checking sources and things like that, depending on the genre I'm working on and what the book's about, my Google search history can look pretty weird, right? So I have to protect myself from what the algorithm tries to throw me, because we have to remember, be smart about these social media platforms that we use. So when we're sharing and we want to have a healthy dialogue, we actually want to have something called an argument. Now, I don't mean argument in the pejorative sense. I don't mean argument is like I'm coming to have an argument with you. We're going to fight in your front yard. I don't mean that. Argument used to have a different meaning. And if you are willing to step up to a higher level of logic and thinking and reasoning to if you want to have a healthy dialogue with someone, I can have a healthy dialogue with people that I don't agree with. But we start with some ground rules. We start with some basic ground rules. So here's something that I want to share. To give an argument, when we talk about argument, especially if you are writing essays in college or you are preparing to participate in a debate, or maybe you are presenting a speech, you have to go talk on a topic at a company. and you want to share your thoughts and your feelings. You want to share your suggestions maybe to with a solution, right, to a problem. That's what we try to do with argument. So argument, on the sake of that level, means to offer a set of reasons or evidence in support of a conclusion. Let me say that again. Offer a set of reasons or evidence in support of a conclusion. I'm going to give you an example. You know that for the past few years, we have been bombarded and warn the F out over election fraud. There have been lawsuits, there have been 66 lawsuits filed claiming fraud, claiming election fraudulent practices or, activity. All but one case was lost because they did not have evidence in support of a conclusion. They threw a conclusion out there. Oh, this is what's going on. Time and time again. And it didn't matter if the state was Democratic or Republican. They conducted their audits. They went through their systems with a fine-tooth comb because, again, we want to ensure the security of our. If we lose faith in the security of our elections, that is just one of many blocks that will come down that will destroy the very fabric of our country. Evidence in support of a conclusion. Many of the lawsuits were thrown out because there was not evidence in support of the conclusion. It was hearsay, it was conjecture, there was no evidence in support of a reason. So if you have an argument, if you've ever participated in a debate, you have a topic, you have an argument, and then the sides are to research and present their case, if you will. That's what they do in the courts. They present their sides, they give an argument. So how can we learn to give an argument when we write? When we, there are many times when I will see a post or I'll see something that I so strongly want to comment on, come on, guys, now that we have this in our hand, it's almost like a reflex. Oh, she did not. Oh, my Lord. And we just start with our thumbs going crazy. Sometimes we don't stop long enough to check autocorrect and the message comes out so predictive text that you have to go back and explain. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say, whatever meant to. And I do this all the time with my daughter because sometimes when I'm doing voice to text, it doesn't translate well. She even posted a picture of her dog, Gabe, who she calls Goob sometimes. And on my social media, it came back a place. And I texted her, said, did you mean to type a place with a picture of Gabe's face? She's like, no, I called him Goob. And I'm like, it's not what I'm seeing on my end. Facebook thought that Goob was a word in Somali and gave it a translation. So when I saw it, I didn't see it the way she initially intended it. Because now the AI, the algorithm, oh, is this a foreign word? Goob. I literally want to look up and see if goob is actually a word in Somali. She calls Gabe, we call him little goobaroo, little Gabaroo. Goob. This is what can happen when we impulsively react to something we see on the internet and we start throwing our feelings out there. We're not thinking about giving reasons or evidence in support of a conclusion. If I'm going to say something, I can back this up with credible facts, right? Because now they're, griping about the fact checkers, right? There's a reason why we check our facts. We want to make sure that whatever is true, right? Whatever is, what do we put our minds on? Whatever is true, whatever is wholesome. But whatever is true things stand against things that are false, like false claims in court. 66 cases later, and we're still finding out that you're wrong. How many times does it take for you to just say, some people won't stop. But when you engage with people or you want to write about an argument, not only do you want to give reasons or offer a set of reasons, why it's probably not good to bake this one item with these ingredients, because And I can offer solutions. I've tried to bake this things 3 different times when I used this flour versus this flour versus this flour, or I didn't use butter. I used something else. This is how it turned out. You can offer evidence in support of your conclusion. And you see that people doing that all the time. Some of the most popular accounts, maybe the ones you even watch, the reason why you watch them is because they can always provide support or evidence for their conclusions, right? Chowder, the skateboarding bulldog. That's quite a claim. Do you know many dogs that skateboard? But if I take you to his Instagram account where I can show you photos and pictures that they are putting up in little recordings they do, little reels every day about Chowder working out and Chowder trying out a new board, and you learn that this dog really does skateboard. I'm just not something that I just made up as a figment of my imagination. And that's okay too. That's for entertainment purposes. But our government is not supposed to be for entertainment purposes. Our government is to handle things and then you get on that topic, that's a whole different can of worms, right? But what we see our congressmen and our House representatives doing is coming to the floor and they are debating. They are presenting arguments for bills that they want to have passed. They want to do, something about climate change, or they want to do something about gun control. Here are the arguments we are presenting. If our democracy is healthy, those things can come together because our nation, as Michael has said so many times to me before when we talk about these things, our nation was set up on the basis of compromise, that we would know how to come together and find a center point where we can agree on some baseline things, but present evidence and support of the conclusions that we have. So here's a great book that I have used in the past. It's a little book, not very long, right? I've used this teaching high school when I was helping my students understand the importance of persuasive writing. You're going to do this with ad campaigns. You're going to do this with content that you want to put up on for a business. You want to persuade your audience to purchase your product or to buy your book or to get behind your cause or to support you in a campaign for running for election, or rallying support for a family who lost their home in a family community who have lost their homes in a tornado or a flood, right? Persuasive. No one is going to get anything out of me if they come at me and scream in my face and call me names or throw insults my way. That's never going to motivate me to do anything. But if I can have a healthy dialogue with you about how I feel, and I want to hear how you feel, and then have us discuss ways we could possibly work together to come to a conclusion that benefits everybody, right? That's how it's supposed to work. And unfortunately, a lot of people have lost the art to argue well. So this is called A Rule Book for Arguments. It's written by a guy named Anthony Weston. It's in its 5th edition. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last copy I have. I have all the way back to the 1st edition, but just ways that has changed and updated with our times, but a way to create healthy dialogue. So I want to kind of share some of the things. Rule book. First of all, you need to work with or deal with people who play by the rules. If you're trying to deal with people who don't play by the rules, already you've lost. Don't even try to engage in a dialogue with those kind of people. It's not going to be healthy and it's not going to work. So I'm going to give you just 6 simple things that will help you think about the ways that you want to respond. Because if you cannot be impulsive, unless it's a funny meme, then by all means, find a GIF, or is it GIF, to reply. Add in your own humor. Laughter is good for the soul. Do that. But if you're going to respond to something that's a controversial topic where people are just, bitching and moaning in the comments, I love to do, because sometimes I can throw a thread and and make it stop. I've had posts that I've been able to shut down on my personal page on Facebook because most of the people who are my friends know me. So they know, well, yeah, you're right, Renee. I mean, I didn't think about that. And I'm not trying to be ugly about it, but I'm just trying to think about these things. I know what you're saying and I hear you and I understand your emotions, Totally get that. In fact, I can agree with you on several levels of that. However, I want you to kind of come over here for a minute, step back over here and just look at it from across the river. Tell me what you think about now, especially if you get more information, right? As more information is coming out about this Uvalde shooting in the school, guys, as with any shooting, it's going to get worse because there's going to be more information come out about what actually happened. And in this day and technology where they can video everything, it's just, oh my God, it gets worse, right? So how do they have conversations about what happened down there and find some way to come together? This community is devastated, and it's going to take some time for them to walk that through. But when we talk about argument, okay, and we're going to talk about some quick, short things that you can do just to think about, things to think about, okay? The purpose of an argument, okay, is to resolve premises and come to a conclusion. What is it you're trying to prove? What is it you're trying to say? What is it you're trying to get across? What is the point you're trying to drive home? You've got to think about that before you can backtrack your way and build a case toward that conclusion, okay? Remember that the conclusion is the statement for which you are giving reasons. This is almost like your thesis statement, okay? I'm not going to try to convince the other side. I'm going to give another side to the matter of gun control. And so we know there are a lot of conversations centered around this topic. There's so many different points of view. People who are affected, law enforcement who are having to get in the middle of it. Right? So a lot of things. What is it you're trying to prove? The statements that you give your reasons is known as your premises. Okay? It's your premise. Premises. You have to know what it is you're trying to say and get that hammered down. So if I want to say, I want to provide a view on why I believe AR-15s should not be in the hands of the generalized civilian population and only need to be for the military. Now, that can go both ways depending on who's running the military, right? That's a lot of times what gun control rights people are saying is that, well, we want to protect ourselves against a military that could turn on us. So therein you have two sides to a conclusion. And those sides, this is what happens in Congress. This is what happens when people come and speak to state representatives and state legislators. They speak. It's supposed to be based on the will of the people, not the will of the politicians. But know your premise. What is it you are trying to prove? The next one is, remember when I said if you know your premise, then you can backtrack it. Almost like, get a piece of paper, put it on the wall. I used to tell my students, get Post-it notes, even if you will. Here's your premise. Here's your conclusion. Now go track yourself backwards, or the steps. How would you build, right? Your conclusion, building coming up to your conclusion is always the most important. Okay. So unfold your ideas in a natural order. Arguments move. They are a moving thing. We want to go from one step to the next. Reasons and evidence lead to conclusions. If you're watching the January 6th hearings, my God, as more and more information comes out, it's just frightening to know now what was going on January 6th, because they're unfolding their case in a natural order. Lawyers do this, right? They put it in a natural order. Like any other form of movement, arguments may be graceful or clumsy, sharp or confused, clear or muddled. You want clarity and efficiency and even grace, if you can manage it, when you unfold your ideas, right, your reasons in a natural order. Now, the next one is a big one. This is hard living in a day of digital disinformation. Make sure that your premises are reliable. No matter how well you argue your premises to conclusion, your conclusion will be weak if your premises are weak. If you are saying there was election fraud and blah blah blah, and you know ballots were changed and Hugo Chavez from Venezuela was involved, you can make all the claims you want. You can argue it all you want, but if the premises is not solid, your case is not going to be solid. It's going to be weak. This is why they've lost case after case. Doesn't matter how much they yell and scream and threaten to show what's going on. It's never proved. So make sure that your premises are credible. The premise of an argument is the statement that nobody in the world today is really happy. Okay, so let me read this. Nobody in the world today is really happy. Therefore, it seems that human beings are just not made for happiness. Why should we expect what we can never find? Okay. Nobody in the world today is really happy. If you were to say that, yes, on rainy days, on bad days, on days that you sit in traffic, there's some people that could not be happy. But to say nobody is happy, is that true? That's like saying everybody. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty of it. We fall into that. Everything you say or anything, right? But is it really true that nobody in the world is happy? No. So you have to start from a reliable premises. Okay. Very important. Now, the next thing, so credible and reliable. The next thing, be concrete and concise. You don't have to hammer it for paragraphs, right? Be concrete and concise. Avoid general terms, avoid abstract terms, avoid vague terms. Be concise and clear in your writing. Build on substance, not overtone. Okay? Offer actual reasons. Don't just play on the overtones of words. Don't hide behind big words and try to sound fancy. Explain it as if you were writing a children's book or I used to tell my high school students, I want you to try to convince the 7th and 8th grade class why high school either sucks or high school is great. But I want you to write this on the level that you are going to walk into the 7th and 8th grade classrooms and you're going to present this. That really changed their perspective really quickly, right? When I told them, they were just writing, I said, we're going to walk into the 7th, 8th graders and you guys are going to present these. All of a sudden, it got real different. I said, who's your audience? Who are you talking to? Build on substance, not overtone. This is supposed to be an argument for restoring things. Okay. So let me read this one. This is an example. Having so disgracefully allowed her once proud passenger railroads to fade into obscurity, America is honor bound to restore them now. Right? Having so disgracefully allowed her once proud passenger railroads to fade into obscurity, America is honor bound to restore them now. This is supposed to be a line to help restore passenger use of rail lines, but it offers no evidence for the conclusion, just emotionally loaded, right? We see a lot of that on the internet now, emotionally loaded words. They're emotionally loaded just to get you to spontaneously get pissed and respond. That's the whole purpose of it, not to engage in a. Hopefully you have friends, people that you are around that you can have healthy dialogue with on difficult topics, because it's very important. Yeah, exactly, Wendy. You're not trying to convince, you're just stating your proof. Now, whether the other side hears you or participates in that, again, if nothing else, they've left the conversation knowing that you go a little deeper on things. You're not just flying by the seat of your pants. We call those people in writing, we call them pantsers. There's two terms in writing. There's plotters or pantsers. Are you a plotter or a pantser? A person who sits down and thinks about and organizes their story. There are people who write by the seat of their pants. Sometimes that works. Rarely is the gifted person that they can do that. but it doesn't help you feel organized or accomplished. It's stressful. So don't be a pantser. Don't write things and just throw them out there on social media, because then you have to answer for your words. You know, the Lord tells us that our words go out to accomplish that which they are sent to accomplish, and they come back. They don't come back void. And that's what God does with his words. We do the same thing with our words. So you have to be careful of that. Make sure that you build on substance. And the next one, the last one, the very last one in this little list of things that I'm trying to help you understand as far as writing a short, is use consistent terms. Short arguments normally have a single theme or a thread, right? They carry one idea through several steps. Therefore, couch that idea in clear and carefully chosen terms and mark each new step by using those same terms again. In the Elements of Strunk and White, there is a reference to Jesus' Sermon of the Beatitudes as a way of showing what parallel construction is, right? Expressing coordinate ideas in similar form. This is when Jesus said things like, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." I have a Bible that is called the Literary Bible, and the Bible is an excellent example of all kinds of literary devices, tropes. It's just fascinating. And so this is parallel construction. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, right? So the formula is blessed are the X for Y. It's not rephrased in each case like also there are X who will be consecrated because Y. Instead, each sentence has exactly the same structure and the same phrasing. Do the same thing with your arguments. Okay? For example, here's an example of poorly consistent terms. When you learn to care for a pet, you learn to attend to the needs of a dependent creature. Watching and responding carefully when a cat or dog needs you, your ability to recognize needs and adjust your behavior accordingly can improve toward young children as well. Becoming a more responsive keeper of domestic animals can therefore enhance your familial caregiving skills too. What? Now, each sentence, if it stood by itself, would be a clear thought. But because they are all connected together, you get lost 2 sentences in. Because you're muddying it up with extra words that don't need to be there, right? So keep them consistent. Excellent example of how to write clearly for an argument, something that you're trying to prove to someone. Okay. So rule book for arguments, get a copy. It's really, I would say it's probably like $10, maybe $12. This is a great little short book, and it takes you through different types of arguments, deductive arguments, cross-checking your sources, arguments from authority, arguments by analogy. If you want to really, arguments by example. Okay. It breaks it down in this book, all kinds of different styles, how to create oral arguments. If you are, like I said, participating in debate, preparing a speech, talking to, in management to a team, and you have to get a point across, and you support those reasons in your meeting to your staff members because you want to get them to jump on board with your idea for how you're going to make a different, change in management style or operation or serving your clients, right? You want to communicate that well. College students are writing argumentative essays and extended arguments, debating in classes or talking about things, or writing on commentary like good books. So a rule book for arguments by Anthony Weston. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at your local bookstores. Support your local bookstores. Also, speaking of bookstores and book stories and clubs, I have a book club, and I would love for you to join us. We are reading a book called Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Wonderful summer rom-com, hilarious. Some chapters are steamy. I got to make sure I'm out by the pool when I read those. But it is fun. It is a fun, fun, fun story. And so we're reading some really great things. I'm excited for August, because in August we are going to be reading The Last Thing He Told Me. This has been part of Reese's book club in the past. She is now getting ready to adapt this one as to the screen. I don't know if she's bringing it in a television series or if she's going to do it in movie form. I think this might make an interesting limited series like she did with Little Fires Everywhere, but we'll see what she does. But we are going to read this for the month of August. So if you would like to join us, there is still time. You can sign up for the book club. I would love to have you. We have a couple of discussions a month where we get together live on Zoom and we chat and we talk about the books and we talk about all the fun things that go on with that. And also, we have a fun little thread where we just keep in touch with each other all the time. I'm going to be doing something new for the month of August, moving forward into the book club. We are a year old, and I'm super excited about that. So if you would like to join, we would love to have you. Let me put the link up here. You can join the book club at RonaeHarden.com/contact. You can also let me know if there's something you're writing that you're working on that you would like to have either another set of eyes on, or if you just want to get some help with some, constructive criticism of how you can improve your writing skills. Maybe you're thinking of writing a book. Maybe you've had an idea for a book. Maybe you've already drafted an idea for a book and you kind of want to see what we can do with it. Let me know. That's what I love to do. I love to help writers share their stories, because then you never know, you might make someone super happy, just like you've made me super happy. Yes, there is a literary Bible, Wendy. Do I have it in here? Do I have it in here? Hold on. All of my, I think it's down. Oh, I found it on my bookshelf. Hold on. Hold on. You know me, I've got a copy of something. Oh, yes, Milo. There you go. I also have the archaeological Bible, which is really cool too. There's some different, yes, the literary study Bible. It's an English Standard Version. Oh my gosh, it is so wonderful. So they've gone through and they've made notes. Oh look, I love when I find old church bulletins when I took notes at church. And I had my literary Bible with me. But it does, especially like in front of Psalms and Proverbs, talks about the Hebrew poetry. It's just fascinating. Commentary on the different scriptures, the writing style in between. Here, let's see. I want to find a good one here. Anyway, in the Bible, there are blocks with commentary. See in the gray, like right, let's see, this hand. Yeah, this one right here. And the one down here at the bottom of the page. Just throughout all the verses, there's context for what was going on, where we, and the style of writing or what the story is communicating. It's really great. No problem. No problem. No problem. And I can't see who this is. Unfortunately, it's not in the comment for some reason. You'll watch the replay if you can. Thank you. Cool birthday gifts for your girls. Yes. So the archaeological Bible, hang on, I should have grabbed that one too. They're pretty big. Anyway, this is the literary study Bible. Super, super fun. Then, hold on. This is the archaeological study Bible. So this one has pictures. But it also backs up things with cultural and historical notes. So it's written more for people who study archaeology and human anthropology, that kind of thing. It gives all kinds of context for the land, the people groups, what was going on at the time, the movements of the tribes, that kind of thing. It's just fascinating when you can. This is in the book of Judges. I don't know if you can see that. Ancient texts and artifacts, the bulletin and poetic accounts of the Battle of Kadesh. I mean, it helps give the Bible such a real, especially backed with scientific type of things, right? Again, reasons and evidence to support a conclusion. So it's another way of reading the scriptures and getting a different perspective, right? So the Archaeological Study Bible, right? And the Literary Study Bible. Oh, because when I read, I don't just read, I study, and I love to study it from different perspectives like that. It just gives the word a whole different meaning to me. So, book recommendations, so many of them, right? Where the Crawdads Sing, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, both movies that are adapted into movies this week that we've got to see. Books that are coming up in my book club. We are currently reading Book Lovers by Emily Henry. And next month, we're going to read The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. Let me move my fingers. Okay, there you go. There's our books. And then a rule book for arguments so that you can argue effectively and clearly. And if nothing else, shut the thread down, right? But we do that all with the love of the Lord as we read from our literary Bible or archaeological Bible, right? There you go. Well, guys, listen, I know we went a little long this time, but thank you. I love getting to share with you. I also love helping people understand the importance of writing effectively and clearly. Guys, you're out there, you're going to spread your awesome into the world. I want you to do it with style and sass. And you can do that if you present your evidence in support of your conclusions and do it in such a way where you can say, Ronnie, check this out. This is a little something I wrote the other day. And I can be, oh, look at you. I'm just so proud. Look at you writing. Look at you being an author. Can't wait for the day when you get to hold your very own book in your hands or see your own work published in a magazine or an online web magazine. Or maybe you get to tell your own story and leave it behind for your family as a legacy. Whatever it is, I would love to help you do that. Let me know. Drop me a message here and under the comments. But thanks so much for being here. As always, I hope you have today and every day ahead. I hope you have a happy day. I'm planning to have a happy day. I'm going to have lunch with my sister-in-law today. I've got fun things that I'm doing. I'm going to be doing some more work on my fantasy fiction book. I hope you have a blessed day, whatever you're doing. And if you need a little pick-me-up, let me know. Shoot me a note. Shoot me a message. I'll put the link back up here on the screen to the very end. Let me know. Let's have coffee. You can even be 30 coffee with me, and we can just chat about whatever. Okay? Let me know. I hope whatever you do this weekend, you do it with style and sass, and you have a great day because, guys, before we know it, it's going to be back to school time. Oh, it's still summer. It's still summer. Join me next weekend. We're going to be talking about writing about summer travel. I want to hear all about trips you've taken, trips you're planning on taking. We're taking a family trip that I cannot wait to go on. It's been a long time coming. And I know you get excited when you get to do those things. So let's talk about summer travel. Where would you like to go? Let's dream about that and make those things reality. Okay? Have a great one, guys. I'll see you back here next Saturday. Hope you have a very happy day. Take care.